I'd like to call this October 28th, 2025 Northfield Township Board of Trustees meeting to order. Please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance at the rear. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Otto, can you please call roll?
Jacob Donner.
Here.
Nate Malkow.
Here.
Janet Chick. Here. Adam Only.
Here.
Larry Roman.
Here.
Jackie Otto, present, and Kathy Manley, absent with notice.
Thank you. I make a motion we approve the minutes from October 14th, 2025, regular meeting and dispense with reading.
Support.
Supported by Chick. Any questions, comments, corrections on those? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I make a motion we approve the minutes from October 22nd, 2025 special meeting and dispense with reading. Supported by Donner. Any questions, comments, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll support.
Supported by Otto. Any questions, comments on those?
I have a question on the manager's report.
Mr. Only.
Under the manager's report, development updates, you got each development listed individually. For Chestnut, is there any discussion or is there any issues still with the sewer that was installed? Or has that been resolved, or do they have a plan to resolve that?
So they have accepted they've accepted the recommendations from Tetra Tech. What we're waiting on is we've got to see, because they'll have to recut across the road. So what we need to see is just the road commission's approval. Not necessarily a permit, that's what I have listed in there. Not necessarily a permit yet, just the approval that they're going to be able to do that. So we have seen in the design plans that will be our recommendations from Tetra Tech will be included in the site plan.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Make a motion we adopt the balance of the agenda. Supported by Chick. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Petitions, communications. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so now for a period of 3 minutes. Please come forward and state your name if you like.
I'm Jim Purrington. I live at 9162 Posey Drive, and I just want to make a couple of very brief comments about our proposed police contract services for Salem. I have a background in law enforcement, and a couple things stuck out to me. And to be honest, I just got the proposal last night, the 30-page document, and I've not been all the way through it yet. But so the questions may be already answered. But a couple of concerns I have are things like if we're doing something part-time, overtime is inherent in police work. And I hope that any overtime would be covered somehow in the contract. I don't know if it is or not. But you can't finish your shift and have a fatal accident and say, we'll be back tomorrow, or a missing child. I mean, that has to be addressed at the time, and sometimes it's quite a bit of overtime. So hopefully the board will look at things like that. The other one that occurred to me, I assume people that are taken into custody will be housed here. It's my assumption. And there's potential problems whenever you have prisoners and you're housing them. And should you get a prisoner, and once you get them here, they have a heart attack. Well, they're your ward. They're going to go to the hospital, and you can go through $50,000 in 8 hours for treatment. Is that covered? Who's going to pay for that? Hopefully the board will look at all such possibilities before they make a decision. I'm sure all of you will. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Anyone else? Anyone? Board member comments, clarifications. I'll yield to Chief Smith if you'd like to make comment on what you heard.
Mr. Purrington, just so you know, did he leave? Just so everybody knows, the overtime issue has already been addressed. It is in the contract. Any overtime that happens in Salem Township will be paid by the Salem Township or their tax base will pay our overtime. Nothing will come out of Northfield Township. And the township supervisor in Salem Township is fully aware that a critical incident that happens, a drunk driving, a fatal accident, could be hours of overtime. So they're fully aware of that. With regards to prisoners, we don't house prisoners in Northfield Township. So our prisoners are all housed at the Washtenaw County Jail. They come here for processing, which can be done by the officer, the arresting officer, processed here and then transported to the Washtenaw County Jail for however long they're going to be there. When he talked about the hospital, it's the same thing. I mean, we don't transport to the hospital. That would be done by HVA. HVA would transport from our facility to the hospital. If it was a prisoner that needed to be watched, the Salem Township officer would then be responsible to watch that prisoner. And then my on-duty commander would make arrangement to either get the other officer that's assigned to Salem or pay for an overtime to come in at the expense of Salem Township to cover their township. So that, yes, that is in the contract. Yes, it's been addressed, as well as many other questions I'm sure the board's going to have.
Thank you. Any other clarifications by the board?
I'd just like to mention or reference the correspondence in relationship to this contract in the packet from Mr. Milbacher and from the county sheriff's letter.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go to next item. Correspondence is included in the packet. Presentation, Pfeiffer, Hanford, and Polka, fiscal year 2024-25 audit presentation.
All right, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the board for having us as your independent auditors. I'm John Pfeffer, partner in the firm Pfeffer, Hanford, and Polka. Kristen Polanowski, she's instrumental in completing the audit, worked very hard to make sure we got the audit done timely and within budget. So she probably, if we get a real technical question, she can really help me out here a little bit, but no. So I also wanted to just mention too, we just started working with Douglas McDonough, and obviously, we're just getting started, but we can tell right off the bat, we have a really good feeling about working with him. It appears he's grasped everything fairly quickly, which is good. So again, we just started, but I just wanted to mention that. Also, we'd like to thank all the staffs, the clerk, treasurer, supervisor, for all their questions they answered. Very important during the audit period. We really appreciate to get the audit done. Also, I have to mention too, we're appreciative that the board is working with the Woodhill Group. Some of the board members are not aware, if you go back a number of years, the township's gone through different accountants, and there was periods of time when it was very difficult almost to get the audit done on time. But the Woodhill Group has done a great job making sure everything's done timely. There was even the last few years before they got involved, there was extra audit fees. So we'd come in and do the audit. It was very difficult to do the audit, but now there's, everything is right in line. It's very good. And I look at this, why that's important. If I was a board member, so when you're getting information during the year, when you're making decisions, you want accurate information, and you are getting that now. So when we come in to do the audit, we sometimes propose audit adjustments, and there are very few. So it's been a big change, with that. So I have to mention that the job that they're doing is very good. Everything really we have to say tonight is, is good, and we're, real happy, everything came out this way. The first thing is we're issuing an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of opinion that the independent auditor can issue. So again, right away, hopefully you approve it tonight. State of Michigan will get this report tomorrow, and they're glad to get that because then that has impact on a couple areas. One thing, I know you got some bonds recently. It helps those ratings of bonds when you're going up for them to be at a high level, but also state shared revenues. So, if there's an issue with the opinion, they hold up the state shared revenues, which are very important to the township, which I'm going to discuss in a little bit later. So again, this unmodified opinion, which is in the front of the audit report, is like A+, which is really good. So they're going to be looking for that right away. I also have to mention, again, this is an area that if I was on the board, would be concerning or important to me, is, again, in the treasurer's office, a very important office. So some of the main functions are when people are paying their taxes, residents, those taxes have to be dispersed to the schools and different institutions within 15 days. Very tough thing to do, especially when you're trying to collect taxes. And so we come in and we test that, making sure monies are coming in and going out. And at the same time, the treasurer is trying to invest those funds. So it's kind of a juggling act. And so the treasurer did a great job with that. We had, all the disbursements were done timely. And, just to give you kind of a high level looking at, the township at the audit date had over $23 million invested. And what the treasurer did a great job keeping it secure, insured, and making sure things are collateralized with different institutions, which is important. But at the same time, the treasurer was able to earn $753,000 of interest. So when you think about it, you can, again, protect the assets, which is really good, but that $753,000 goes a long way for the township to pay different expenses. Now, that's allocated to the different units, so all the units get a share of that. That doesn't just stay in one area. So that's really a good thing to do that. Now, again, with interest rates changing and different things changing in the market, who knows, what the future is, but the treasurer's done a great job with that. So I have to mention that. Again, that's something I would want to know being a board member. That's very important. I'm just going to briefly touch on the three major funds that, as we audit. First of all, general fund. So the good news is, and you guys did a great job staying within budget. You have a tight budget, you stay within it, and you're actually able to add to your fund balance this year, which was really good. But I do want to mention at the same time that a major part of your income in the general fund is state shared revenues. So it's in the graphs, you don't have to look at that right now, but basically 41% of general fund revenues come from state shared revenues. So your share of income taxes is small. Most of that goes to the schools. So when you think about it, you have to keep an eye on that. And our issue that we're going to be looking at is these revenues could be reduced. They're talking about reallocating them, but also it has to do with sales tax. So if purchases in Michigan are down, then it reduces the sales tax, the township will get less. We don't predict a huge decrease in that area, but you just have to make sure as you're doing your budgeting process, don't budget more revenues there, or maybe take a look at what you did budget in there for the current fiscal year and take a look at it. There's nothing to be concerned about. And like I said, the good news was you added $700,000 to your fund balance, which was really good last year. So we are glad to see that. So again, in both fire and law enforcement, again, both of those departments did a great job, stayed within their budget. And the only differences between the two, which is the board is aware of, the only reason the fire fund had a reduction in fund balance was it had large equipment purchases, over $700,000 in equipment, so that would make sense. So again, in the current fiscal year, you just have to take a good look at the budgets. The chiefs need to continually review them and make sure that, we don't want to have we won't have any big reductions or anything in those fund balances if we can avoid it. So that would be good to watch that all year. The last part I wanted to mention tonight, again, is, and I know it's been a little bit of discussion. We can tell because we read all the minutes. Everybody on the staff that's working on the job has to read all the minutes. So, not that, some of them probably take a little nap trying to do it, but I enjoy looking at them. Sometimes I'll watch them, and that gives you a lot of information, watching the minutes. But anyway, I wanted to mention on the pension fund. So the one thing you have to realize, if you go back in the 15, you were about 80% funded then. That was still good. Right now you're 78. It's still good. And what happened was during COVID, all the funds took a hit. And if you notice more recently what's happened since January, what's happened with the stock market, and again, could be a bubble and other things happening. But what I recommend is you keep your current funding levels into that at about where they're at. I wouldn't throw a lot at that to fix it, because with MERS, they do a calculation in how they invest the money. Well, excuse me, and that's going to go up and down. And I would just continue your current funding levels, because in the last 3 years, you continually increase your funded balance, and it's at 78%. Hopefully next year it's over 80, and I would predict it probably would. But again, that is still a very good funded level for the retirement account. So for the pension account. So I did want to mention that to the board if you're kind of mulling that over and trying to figure out what to do, because I really, on both of the, in both law and fire, again, the budgets are tight. They do a great job. But, again, we want to keep our fund balances where they are. We don't really want to deplete the fund balances. We want to keep them about the same. So, however you figured out those contributions going forward, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But if you keep those funding levels at about where you're at, I think you're going to be fine, especially with what's happening with some of the investments out there. So I did want to mention that. And we do 35 units that we audit. And I would say that you're really in the high middle, even at the 78. At one point, you're at 90. But again, that was before COVID. Everybody was at 90 before COVID. And then, obviously everything went down, and now you're coming back up. I'd be more concerned if it was going down, but you're heading back up, and you're really at about 80%, which is good. So enough said about that. I just wanted to mention that tonight, and then hopefully at some point tonight you approve the audit report. And if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Chip?
I don't have a question. I always have a comment. I appreciate all the work that you do putting into this audit every year, and your advice is excellent. I appreciate the good news, and I also appreciate the cautionary comment. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
So, there's no action necessary, correct? Okay. All right, moving on.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
Arlene, do we have to approve the audit to be submitted to the state? Yes.
You need action tonight.
Yes.
Okay, would you like to make the motion?
Yeah. I knew that I think we have to, because we got to submit it to the state.
That's what I asked.
Okay. All right, I'll make the motion to accept the audit as presented by Pfeiffer, Hannaford, and Palkey.
Report.
Motion by Otto, supported by Olney. All in favor, any questions, comments on motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. There you go.
Thank you. I have one more thing to say.
Yes.
While I appreciate the comment that he made about the treasurer's office. I can't do this without Carleen. So
Thank you both.
it's just not me. And Stacy, well, especially Stacy.
We'll go on to old business. Item number 1, consideration of contract draft to provide police services for Salem Township. Mr. McDonough.
So the Township Board approved the Township Attorney on the August 12th board meeting to draft a formal contract for Salem Township's review based on the initial cost projection provided by the Northfield Township Police Department. Since that time, we have had multiple consultations with the township attorneys from both townships, as well as with the Salem supervisor. The contract before you represents the work involved with those consultations, with a specific emphasis on ensuring no cost to the citizens of Northfield Township. You can see some of those themes and some of the key components of the contract. Key components include that Salem will pay Northfield the fees and charges set forth in the attached Appendix B, which is part of your read ahead. The base fee for subsequent years will be charged as set forth in that attachment. Salem's going to pay for cost of prosecutions, overtime, increases in Northfield's insurance premiums resulting from the hiring of additional officers to service Salem Township, and Salem shall pay for the cost of training and wages while the officers are in training and the field training officer phase of training. So at this time, the staff does recommend that the Board of Trustees approve Northfield PD entering into the contract with Salem Township. We also recommend that the board approve PD acquiring the second officer and a patrol car. Those are both contingent on Salem Township approving the contract, which indication that if the board approves it tonight, potentially a special meeting from Salem to approve the contract. So the additional officer and patrol car would be contingent upon Salem approving the contract. So I'll pause there for any questions from the board.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Mr. Moko.
What's the timeline, once they sign the contract, if it gets passed here and then Salem signs the contract, what's the timeline before we get boots on the ground? Or they get boots on the ground, I should say.
Well, my understanding is that they have to give the county 6 months' notice when they end the contract, which allows us to get our officers trained. Like I said, at the last meeting, I want to be able to, when that contract's over, be able to afford them without having to have the delay and get the 2 officers that are going to be assigned to Salem up and running in Salem. So the intention is that once Salem Township gets their contract, whatever date they decide that they want to end the contract with the county will be predicated on when our guys are ready to go. We like Mr. McDonough said, we have 1 in the academy, we have 1 online to be hired, pending Salem Township's approval of the contract. So I would say six months from, at least 6 months from the time that we sign the contract with them.
Anyone else? Mr. Olney.
I have some questions that I've kind of already communicated with Chief Smith about, some questions of my own, some questions of some concerned citizens. I just want to mention some of those concerns and some of the clarification that I got from Chief Smith, and maybe some additional questions that maybe there needs some more clarity on. There was some concerns about vehicle replacement, maintenance, insurance costs. Chief Smith ensured that all of that will be on the responsibility of Salem Township, whether it's an oil change or a car accident. All of that is the burden of Salem Township for their vehicle. All liability insurance from any incidents is going to be taken on by Salem Township. Any training cost will be taken on by Salem Township. There was a question about the termination date with the county, which you just addressed. So once that's terminated, obviously even like 6 months from today, we're looking at a March date, so plenty of time. There were some concerns about coverage outside of the 12-hour window period. Are we responsible, or who's going to cover? Chief Smith clarified that that coverage will be handled by the state police, who currently cover when they don't have coverage from the county. Other issues, there were some issues about additional like event coverage, if they have any events, special permits or anything, that it would be additional officers. I gave the example of like German Park. German Park pays for coverage. So if there's any type of special coverage like that, it would come out of either that private entity of Salem Township or Salem Township would pay in addition. That is really it. No, so the officer in the car, which was just mentioned upon approval of the contract, the officer wouldn't be able to start the academy until what is the next open window?
The second officer that we're planning to hire is a certified officer.
Okay, so there wouldn't be an academy window needed. And then the purchase of the car, since we already had it in our, you already had it in your budget for a car, that amount of money that you had budgeted for a car will now go back into your fund balance because Salem Township is paying for the car?
Well, the cars, we're gonna pay for the car, and or the contract that Salem pays us.
Paid over time, okay. All right. That is all I had, thank you.
Ms. Otto?
So I wasn't at the closed session because
Neither was I.
I wasn't able to ask questions, but I do have some concerns. One being in the fee schedule, you have dispatch services for township to be determined. I don't want any answers, I'm just making comments. To me, if you don't have it in your contract to begin with, it's hard to negotiate after the contract is executed. Then the base, the charges for services are 30-day due date, and it appears to me that we're fronting all costs, and it will take us anywhere between 60 to 30 days to recoup those costs. Workers' comp insurance. My biggest concern here is any high-risk claims that come through that could affect the township. I know we have workers' comp insurance, but that is on us. The other one is long-term disability and FMLA. We've already had experience going through that with an employee, and I have concerns with that as well. So those are just my concerns.
Chief, would you like to respond?
Actually, I'm gonna defer to Mrs. Fink for the legal stuff about the workman's comp, and I mean, he's fully versed on what's going on. I mean, there's no concern as far as from my end.
There we go. If only I knew much about workers' comp. But Treasurer Otto, the contract is designed in, I won't take credit for it, I'll give the credit to the chief and Lieutenant Powell, to ensure that any additional costs are pass-through costs. So, for example, the gentleman asked about, you're on a call, end of your 12-hour shift, you end up working 15 hours. That is already built in there. And the premium for insurance and other things, could something go wrong? Yes. But I think that they have analyzed this in the finance of it in a way that the township is pretty well protected. I don't have an answer for you on the 30-day to 60-day getting reimbursed, except to say that some of these upfront costs you may even have before you start performing the services, because we know what those are going to be, and the way I understand the conversations the chief had, they will invoice them and Salem will pay those in advance. And this isn't designed to make Northfield a lot of money, and it's not designed, it's especially not designed to lose money, but of course, there's no guarantee. But I think that all of the things you addressed, including workers' comp, have been discussed with the insurance carriers, and they think they put together the package, and that's why if you look at the costs per officer, it's not the same as what a salary plus fringes are, because there are other costs to the township on top of what goes to the officer. I don't know if that helped. I know now that it didn't.
Well, I will tell you, Ms. Otto, that we spent 2.5.
I know we're comp law.
I will tell you, we spent 2.5 hours with the insurance company discussing all the avenues and potential concerns that could come up. It was myself, Lieutenant Powell, Mr. McDonough, and when we got done with that meeting, the insurance company basically told us that we were good. So my concern, that helped alleviate some of my concerns, because I had similar concerns as you did. So, you know, I mean, there was an exhaustive and extensive communication with everybody involved to make sure that we had, now, am I gonna tell you that everything is covered in the contract? I can't tell you that, but everything that we could come up with, we tried to cover within the contract so that I don't put the township in any kind of jeopardy. I mean, if I had an ounce or an inclination that this was gonna be a concern for the township, I wouldn't do it.
I will point you to the 6th paragraph in Appendix A, which is page 138 in the packet. And I'll just point out, without reading the whole paragraph, that it includes FMLA.
Okay.
And so I think that most of the concerns you raised have been addressed. The workers' comp is handled through paying the workers' comp premiums and the risk pool that you're in, which of course could change depending on what happens. But all in all, what they've tried to do is build a pricing that does not cost the township money. And you all know that I have a background in law enforcement, but I've been gone a long time. I think there are some inherent benefits just to the idea of having extra officers on the department, even if they're assigned to a neighboring community, but that's not my job as your lawyer, that's the chief's job to sell you on that.
Anyone else? Ms. Chick?
This relates to something that Mr. Only brought up about events at Salem. Salem Township and Three Cedars Farm has their event space open from Halloween to Christmas. My understanding is that they have a security person there, and it was a Washtenaw County Sheriff. That's what I was told. Is that something that Northfield Township would be acting as a security force there as well?
Yeah, just like Mr. Only said, if that's what Mr. Whitaker wants from Salem Township and he wants an officer there, he would contract with us to provide that officer.
Okay.
So, I mean, what the officer does in Salem Township, if he, Mr. Whitaker says, hey, I need you, I'm having a special event, you might swing it by while you're on patrol, that's community service. That's not a contracted event where he's gonna be there tied up the whole time and not patrolling the township. So if that situation arose where Mr. Whitaker would like one of our officers to work that security detail, it would be just like German Park. We would enter in the contract. I'd come in front of the board and say, hey, this is what he wants. These are how many days he wants. This is the hours he wants. And it would be the same thing. They would just reimburse us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I think with that would be as a private business contracting services. There's some little confusion here because Mr. Whitaker is the owner of Three Cedars. So I don't think Salem Township would be providing a security detail.
No, that would be.
It would be the owner of Three Cedars,
Exactly.
who is Mr. Whitaker, but not on behalf of
It
Salem.
could be any business.
It would be the same as German Park.
Yeah, so there's the little difference there that the supervisor is the owner of the property, but, yeah.
Anyone else? In that case, I'll make a motion, Northfield Township enter into the provided contract with Salem Township and approve Northfield Township PD to hire the second officer and a patrol car contingent on Salem approving the contract.
I'll support.
Supported by Donner. Any questions, comments on that motion? Mr. Only.
I'd like to say that my support for this is with the professional opinions of our lawyer, our insurance representatives, our police chief, our township manager, all doing their due diligence to ensure that there is no liability on the township. There is going to be no cost to the community, to the taxpayers. I was disappointed that Mr. Whitaker couldn't make this meeting tonight. It was requested about a month ago that when this comes back up that he attend. If there was any questions for him, he was not able to make it. So that my support for this is for those reasons.
So we have a motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Passes 5-1. Thank you. Okay, next item, 75 Barker. Consider request from purchaser asking that the township conduct and pay for a Phase 2 environmental assessment and waive all development timelines in the development agreement. Mr. McDonough.
So the owners of 75 Barker did approach the township on October 16th with that request, which was to pay for the Phase 2 environmental assessment and water testing, and then waive all developmental timelines. As far as we have a long timeline, there's nothing in the contract that, in the purchase agreement that that forces us to do this. So I think my recommendation to the board is I would recommend that the Board of Trustees not pay for the Phase 2 environmental assessment and not waive or extend any of the developmental timelines as outlined in the development agreement. And I'll hold there for questions.
Are there any? Mr. Olney.
I was not here for the closed session last week, so whatever conversations took place, I'm not privy to. So I've got the same information that the public has. I've asked some questions from Mr. McDonough. At times, I've been in communication with the property owner. So I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Trustees pay for the Phase 2 environmental assessment and at the current time, waive any timelines that have been part of the development agreement.
Is there support? No support. Motion does not go. Any other questions, comments regarding this? Seeing none, there's no other motion or no action to be taken. It basically, the request falls back to the original contract. So, okay, move on.
I have a question.
Mr. Olney.
With the developer here, could we hear from the developer what their intent is based on no action taking from their request?
I don't understand your question. Or
They made a
your
request for
concern.
us to take action. We are not taking action.
Right.
We are not fulfilling the request. So since they're here, if we could hear of what their way forward is without that request being fulfilled.
Sure, I suppose. Would you like to make comment?
So, good evening, Board. Thank you for hearing us out. And I'm a little taken back with this because, as we know, everything is black and white as to what happened with Phase 1 and what was supposedly remediated but not fully remediated and not fully disclosed on the purchase agreement. So it seems like every step we're trying to go forward with this project, we're having a hiccup. And every hiccup we have, we're not dismissing it, but we're trying to deal with it. Unfortunately, with this timeline that is luring over us, I don't know how to address this, because I ask you, Mr. Roman, as the supervisor, I don't know what you think our intention is. We are, again, I keep saying every time we come up to the board, we are fully married to this project and we want to move forward. However, these roadblocks that we are incurring is hindering us, but it seems that not all the board, but are always insisting on the timeline, the timeline, the timeline. So I guess I don't know what to do with this thing. I guess we have been in contact with a couple of attorneys to try to resolve this, but this is definitely a big stickler for us. So I'm at a loss right now as far as Phase 2 and how you think, even if we move forward, because this was not disclosed, and now all of a sudden we have this surprise and this does not happen right away. It takes time for phase 2, and it takes time for the remediation. So with the timeline thing, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to handle this, but I tell you something, that any municipalities that I've been with, coming in with any developer looking to develop something on an old building, beautify it, generate taxes, and have housing, is welcome to open arms and willing to help, rather than putting the kibosh on it and saying, we want to move forward to demo. So I don't see how the city can really benefit from it, while we are trying to beautify it. And yes, it is an eyesore, because unfortunately, these roadblocks have been happening all the way through. And again, I mention every single time that we have a lot of money invested into this thing. So it's not that it's been a single investment and we're just letting it ride, that you say, well, you know what, we're just going to give you your money back and get out. I wish it was that easy. I really wish. So unfortunately, we are very, very committed. And I know your wish and your vote is to demo the thing, but however, I don't think it's the right thing, and we are very heavily invested. So that's all I can tell you. I mean, somewhere if my partner wants to add to this.
Well, you pretty much summed it all up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So,
So the timeline speaks for itself, and the provided information, the facts of it speak for itself. My suggestion is, if you have further questions or comments, to visit Mr. McDonough.
Okay.
Ms. Otto.
So I would like to make a motion that that the Board of Trustees pay for the Phase 2 environmental assessment at this time.
Support.
There's a motion by Otto to pay for the Phase 2 environmental, supported by Olney. Any questions, comments on this? Ms. Chick?
I'm uncomfortable. I'm not ready to vote on that right now, because I think there's I think there should be a discussion between Mr. McDonough and the applicant on exactly what information you have to make sure that they have the same information, so that everybody can have a good position on where we are with our board decision on not doing anything right now. So I'm not ready to vote on it. I'm going to abstain from voting.
You can't abstain. It's not an item that you would abstain.
You can walk out of the room.
Excuse me, in Robert's Rules of Orders, if I'm correct, you can not vote because you don't have enough information. I don't know if you call it abstaining or not.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, I'm pointing out, though, if you voted against the motion, then they would proceed as previous. It sounds similar to the same motion Mr. Only made.
No, I'm not adding
few
the
minutes.
extension of the timelines to it.
Okay, so, provided all the information, my comment to that motion is that the information that the applicant's claiming he did not have was referred to in the OHM report, pre-construction of March 22nd, 2024. So that's my point. But is there any other comments on the motion? Mr. Olney?
So I know there's a debate on whether it was disclosed, whether it needed to be disclosed, commercial, residential, all that. So reading from Natural Resources Environmental Protection Act, transfer of interest in real property, notice certification of completed response activity. A person who has knowledge or information or is in notice through a recorded instrument that a portion or the entirety of a parcel of that person's property is a facility shall not transfer an interest in that real property unless he or she provides written notice to the purchaser or other persons to which the property is transferred, disclosing the known general nature and extent of the hazardous substance release and any land or resources use restrictions that are known by the person to apply. A restrictive covenant or notice that contains the required information that is recorded in the deed records for the property satisfies this requirement. The owner of the real property for which a notice required a subsection 1 has been recorded may, upon completion of a response activity under this part, For the facility, record with the Register of Deeds for the appropriate county a certification that the response activity has been completed. I don't think that was done. From what I know, our attorney has said they did not disclose it in the purchase agreement. Now we're looking at the timeline of March 2024, that they did a site plan, and in that site plan, they had a due care plan in that site plan. Regardless of whether there's a due care plan, it wasn't disclosed at the sale. That them acknowledging it 2 years later does not take the liability off the township. The township knew about the contamination and did not provide written notice prior to the sale. To me, it sounds like the township's in violation of this. At this point, I think we need an additional or a second legal opinion. Our attorney did not disclose this, so if it is deemed that our attorney did something wrong, and we're getting an opinion from that same attorney, I think there's an issue here. An attorney giving an opinion on action they took when there's some discussion here, I think we need an additional opinion here. Due to us not disclosing it, that is why I am in support of us paying for it.
Mr. Donner.
In our letter from Mr. Fink dated October 21st, 25, on the second page, it says, although known environmental issues should be shared, unlike residential purchases, there is no form or disclosure statement that must be signed by both parties. And with that being known, and Mr. Oney's statement, is there anything Mr. Fink could add to that for us at the moment?
Mr. Fink, excuse me. Is your microphone on, sir?
Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
First, if Mr. Olney's recitation of the law is correct, paying for a Phase 2 today would not change anything that he said would happen, and the issue is, what do you do about it? Paying for a Phase 2 wouldn't change the alleged violation. That's the first part. The second part, I just need to say to make sure that everyone's clear, is that our firm, and to my knowledge, the township did not withhold any information and did not try to deceive the purchaser, who was, first of all, these are sophisticated businessmen with very successful businesses, including a lot of construction experience. They probably have more experience in buying and selling property that may or may not be a facility than anybody in the township does. Secondly, they were represented, the purchaser was represented by a competent attorney. And third, the township did not at any time withhold information or try to deceive the purchaser. And the fact that this information is in the record and submitted by the purchaser demonstrates that they had the information. I'll also point out that what we're talking about is a Phase 2 that was done previously, so I'm not sure why they want you to do a Phase 2 today. But I'll go back to my original point, which is I haven't looked at what Mr. Olney just read, but it does not sound like authorizing to pay for a Phase 2 today would remedy the situation that he thinks might exist.
Thank you.
I do want to add a couple of things. It's, what we were asking for is the testing as well as the remediation. So doing the testing really is not going to solve anything. And it was in the purchase agreement that, what was that paragraph that it said?
Adversified.
They adversified that they have, it's not known that there is any environmental issues. However, prior to that, there was the previous supervisor that dealt with E3 or A3E that had the Phase 1 remediation and signatures of that. So I don't see how that you can say that there was no deception. Maybe a mistake, I can buy that, but I mean, there is proof from the previous supervisor, the remediation company, and that there was something there it was remediated, not 100%, and then when it goes to sale in the PA, it clearly says there is no known contamination. So again, I don't want to call it deception. I may want to call it a mistake, oversight, but there was something there that we had no idea about. So when the PA is read that way, I mean, yeah, you can shame us for not doing the phase one, but that's all I can say.
Comments, sir.
Yes.
Mr. McDonough, would you care to add anything to that?
I mean, it was part of the public record, the underground storage tank. In my investigation, it was 5, 6, 7 times in the public record. This was a public topic from the township, and that it was what I would say commonly known. The asbestos was disclosed to the purchaser, and there was nothing in the purchase agreement and there's no remediation. We discussed the asbestos. So the due diligence versus the disclosure, and I don't think the due diligence was done here. And I just want to remind the board A3E stopped the remediation because they were hitting the foundation. So there's no guarantee that remediation is going to work a second time because without damaging the foundation of the structure. That's why A3E stopped the first time. And so I think there's a lot of risk for the developers for another remediation and future damage to the structure. So as I look at it from your perspective as well, I think it was commonly known we did have 3 purchasers that backed out previously for environmental reasons. I just think demo is the right way to go here, because there's a lot, we don't even know what else may be wrong with that building as you start, and we tried. Mr. Lloyd reached out in February of 2024 and said, we've got some building issues. We'd like to get the building official out with you to have a conversation with you. And your response is, our developers are professionals. Let them do their jobs. We know what's wrong with the building. And so my personal, as I've looked at the data as an objective, being new to the township, is that demo is the most viable way forward. I don't want you to have to waste any more money on this project because there is a lot of money, in my opinion. I don't know how much it is, but it's a lot that's going to be involved with doing this.
All right. Can I respond to that? Sure. When we said that we would handle it, that was for structural issues, not contamination. The other thing I wanted to know is, what's the date that you said we were given about the asbestos? At what date was it were we notified of the asbestos in the building?
It was prior to the purchase agreement being signed. So I want to say, I don't have the date, and I'd have to look at the timeline, but it was before the purchase agreement was signed. This was in...
Okay. Right. I went through my emails. I couldn't find it. You could be correct, but if you could please forward that to me.
I'll share
like
that. I'll share the email on the asbestos with you.
Okay.
Mr. Olney.
So if we thought it was important information to disclose asbestos, I don't know how we missed disclosing contaminated soil. So the fact that we disclosed asbestos shows that we should have disclosed soil.
That's your, excuse me.
Yep, excuse you. So public record. So I looked into public record and rulings in the state of Michigan, and courts have upheld that public record is not enough. Courts in Michigan have ruled that public available information doesn't replace the seller's duty to disclose. If the seller actually knew about contamination and failed to provide written notice, that's still considered non-disclosure under the law. Even if the buyer could have found the information through due diligence, the seller's independent duty still applies. The buyer's failure to investigate doesn't absolve the seller of knowingly withholding disclosure.
So I have a question, Mr. Only. Did you receive the attorney-client privilege memo that we released from Wednesday?
The one that was released to the public?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you read it?
Yes. Do you think I read all of this?
Excuse me,
Read
I'm
that?
speaking.
No, you
I
asked
have
me
a question. You
and I'm
answered.
answering it.
You answered.
No, I'm answering it. It's
No,
not a
you're
yes or a
adding,
no.
you're adding embellishments, so you said
Embellishment.
yes, you read it. The second page, although known environmental issues should be shared, unlike residential purchases, there is no formal disclosure statement that must be signed by both parties.
Would you like me to respond?
On top of the fact, excuse me, I'm talking now. On top of the fact that the information that you're claiming the applicant did not have was provided by the applicant to OHM in the provided information for this site. So the claim that they didn't have it is ridiculous because they provided it to OHM.
OHM did not do the report.
Excuse me, Mr. Only.
So, we didn't disclose it, and we're referencing like real estate law and residential law. What I'm discussing is Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act, which is separate from real estate law. The fact that they acknowledged it at any point after the sale doesn't change that we didn't disclose it. The liability is on us to disclose it per that law, and it doesn't matter if they acknowledged it the day after, 2 years later, or 10 years later. We didn't disclose it. Them acknowledging it does not like alleviate us from any liability. So the fact that there was an OHM report that I did read, and it says the applicant has acknowledged the existence of contaminated soil on site and included a due care plan is their submittal for proper handling of disturbed area during construction. So when I go to page 72 of that reference, says August 27, 2020, Robert Munger from A3E Environmental Services. So they included that in their site plan, and that was received by Northfield Township on March 4th, 2024. This was sold to them in 2022. So 2 years later, them acknowledging that there is contaminated soil does not remove our liability or our failure to disclose.
Thanks for your opinion. Ms. Otto.
No, I'm going to
Ms. Chick.
refer to.
August 24th, 2021, 75 Barker updated Phase 2 environmental. Supervisor Dignan reported that Phase 2 environmental work was done and did not look encouraging, but it appears the contamination extends under the asphalt as opposed to under the building. Contamination under the building would only be an issue if the building remains and is occupied. The board motioned to have an inactive well capped and generate a proposal to demo the building. The purchase offer was accepted, hang on one second. Yep, March 22nd, 2022.
Thank you.
I did talk with Mr. Digdon, who indicated that he had conversations with the purchasers to relay the contamination with the soil. That was a written, that was a phone conversation. That's his word, just for what it's worth.
Ms. Otto.
This goes to our attorney. Under Part 201 of the Michigan's Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. Under this, there's a program that includes provisions for protection for new owners, due care requirements, and the ability to use land use-based cleanup standards to facilitate and return of the brownfield sites to productive use. This is the one reason why I said that the township should be paying for it.
Mr. Fink? Is that a question?
Yeah, that's a question. So under Part 201 of the Michigan's Natural Resource and Environmental Act, there is a program that includes provisions for liability protection for new owners, due care requirements, and ability to use land use-based cleanup standards to facilitate the return of the brownfield site to productive use. I said this is the one reason why I asked to have the township pay for it.
Okay, I can answer.
Okay.
I'll sort of answer your question, and I'll remind you of when I first started as the township attorney, a little over 5 years ago and told you that I wasn't going to answer legal questions on the fly very
Right.
often, which I won't do tonight by listening to board members read me portions of a statute without doing my
Exactly.
own legal research. So I don't have a specific answer for you.
Okay.
I will remind you that your staff has recommended that you not pay for this now. If the purchaser thinks it has a claim against the township, it can make that claim, and then the legal issues will be resolved the way all legal issues are resolved when there's litigation or negotiation, not on the fly, not on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, but through a deliberative process. And the way to do that, to me, is for this board to make its decision. I have my own opinion, but it's not, I'm not on the board. This board to make its decision and then see what happens after that.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Anyone else?
So I'll call the question.
Can you repeat the motion?
The motion was that the Township Board of Trustees pay for the Phase 2 environmental assessment.
And that was supported by Olney.
Only, yeah.
We'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. For roll call vote, I gotta go to her, my handy dandy. Nate Malco,
No.
Janet Chick.
I refuse to vote tonight. I don't have enough information. You can call it a no if you want, but it's a refusal, yep.
Jacob Donner,
No.
Adam Only,
Yes.
Larry Roman,
No.
and Jackie Otto, yes. 4-2. Yep,
4-2?
yeah, 4-2. It doesn't pass. It doesn't pass.
Correct. But
Four,
Janet didn't vote. That's my,
you have to, I counted it as a no. If you don't vote, it's,
Your minutes should not reflect the vote she didn't make.
oh, okay. So
that's why I was-
3-3.
No one asked me, but I
3-2.
believe she has an obligation to vote, but you already voted, so that's okay.
Okay, 3-2.
thank you. So that's what I was just trying to clarify,
Okay.
not anything else. Thank you. Okay. Item 3, consideration of police department collective bargaining agreements. Mr. McDonough?
So after the closed meeting last week, the township's offer was presented to both the Police Command Officers Association as well as the Police Officers Association. The Police Command Officers Association voted to, the union voted to adopt all recommendations from the township. And so that's what we'll be ready to vote on for this evening. The Police Officers Union did not approve the township's offer, so I'll be continuing negotiations. The next meeting I have right now is tentatively scheduled on the 10th of November to sit down with union representatives for the Police Officers Union. Police Command Officers accepted the township's offer, ready for vote tonight.
Thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed collective bargaining agreement for the Northfield Township Police Command Officers Association upon review of the township labor attorney and signing of the agreement retroactive to July 1, 2025.
Support.
Supported by Moco. Any questions, comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you. New business, Resolution 25-015, fiscal year 25-26, first quarter budget amendments. Mr. McDonough.
Before you in your packet is the list of budget amendments for the first quarter of fiscal year '26. A few notes on the amendments for each fund. In the general fund for expenditures for line 101-265-910 insurance and bonds, across all three funds, you will notice that the insurance line item was higher than forecasted. We budgeted a 6% increase for the general fund and the police fund and 18% for fire. We ended up under budget for all three, which is why there's a amendment for the insurance and bonds across all three funds. And for police and fire, that's the only amendment for this quarter. Moving down for 666 community expense, we talked about this at the last board meeting. We failed to add People's Express to this year's budget. This is a recurring contract. This is at least, I think, partly because no one on the staff provided dedicated oversight. We remedied this by aligning under community services with oversight from the community services director. People's Express will come and provide an annual report to the board during the January 13th board meeting. For line 900, we added $30,000 to the park improvement accounts for expenditures as OHM continues design activities for the park. Grant funding is being used to pay for these expenditures. One of the bigger expenses was for emergency repairs to the HVAC system that occurred in the public safety building over the course of this summer. That accounted for $57,000 this fiscal year. It was unforecasted. For the community center parking lot, we're going to pay Best Asphalt in the next week. They were finishing today. I'm not sure if I haven't seen it. I think they had finished, but if not, tomorrow. If you recall, we budgeted $50,000 for FY26. The final invoice will arrive next week, and we anticipate that invoice around $86,000 after the board made the decision to fund both the north and south parking lots for this fiscal year. The $36,000 increase accounts for the difference between the 86 and the 50 budgeted to pay for the north parking lot only. County will ultimately reimburse the township for the south parking lot out of the Capital Emergency Improvement Fund. So budget amendment, but we will receive those funds back from county for the south parking lot. On page 3 for Fund 217, an increased expenditure of $130,000 accounts for the building roof replacement. So those are our amendments for the first quarter, pending any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Chick.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion to approve Northfield Township Resolution 25-015, amending General Appropriation Act Resolution dated from July 1st, 2025 to June 30, 2016 for departments General Fund, Fire Protection Fund, Law Enforcement Fund, Public Safety Building Rental Property Fund, Federal Narcotics Fund, and Building and Ground Maintenance Fund.
I'll support.
Supported by Otto. Any questions, comments on that motion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Larry Roman,
Yes.
Jackie Otto, yes. Jacob Donner,
Yes.
Janet Chick,
Yes.
Nate Moko,
Yes.
Adam Only,
Yes.
6-0.
Passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item, item 2, consider authorizing sale of fire department brush truck. Chief Bishop.
Yep. So we took possession of the new brush truck, had the lights, emergency equipment placed on it, and then did the transfer of the skid unit for it 2 weeks ago. So this is just to not have the current truck sitting around, just asking for the board's permission to sell it. I know there is some speak of alternate use for it. I'm not asking to sell it to any particular thing other than having the opportunity to start looking at that avenue. Having talked to the township manager, I told him that I could hold on to the truck for a period of time until the board's completely clear of what they want to do potentially with it or not with it. I still feel like I potentially will gain additional revenue by selling it on the open market like we had before, but I'm open to options if that helps the township out.
Thank you. I'll make motion for the board to authorize the sale of the fire department brush truck through online auction.
Support.
Supported by Donner. Any questions, comments? Mr. Olney.
I reached out to Chief Bishop when he communicated with us about this, and I just inquired about potential. We had mentioned about the discussion of a Department of Public Works, or possibly just not a full department, but taking on some of the landscaping, snow removal in the township. So I didn't know if this was an opportunity for us to maybe not go out and purchase a brand-new vehicle for that, if we're just starting to look at it, but maybe if that was an option. He said that discussions had taken place about that, and that was that was where it ended, so.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. McDonough?
Yeah, I mean, the board will kind of see, and it's not for decision in late November, the November board meeting, the board will kind of see the options available as we look for at budget season. There would be a truck that's required. My concern of not at least providing the opportunity to Chief Bishop now is, I think we could be at least a year away from implementation, and so a truck sitting out there, I would be concerned maintenance-wise and just sitting. So if there's a, I mean, we'd buy, if we go that route, we'd buy something used anyway. So I do think, I'm not sure the timing is right. I think we got a ways from this concept, which the board hasn't even seen yet. So I'd like to get that to the board to at least kind of get an idea of where we're going, and then we can discuss. But I think we're a year out from implementation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So there's a motion with support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Approved. Item 3, consider approval of FOIA policy. Mr. McDonough.
So for the FOIA policy, what has been on the website has been accurate. We've done some professional development on FOIA, and there were a couple items that needed to get added to the FOIA policy. The last time there was a township FOIA policy, I believe, was 2015 was what was, and it would never made it to the website. So there's been a policy. We looked at that one. There were a couple items, primarily allowing the assistant, which is Ms. Carlisle right now, to be able to continue to process FOIA requests in the absence of the FOIA coordinator, which is myself, creating a distribution list for FOIA requests. So if someone in the public, they go to that email and it'll go to a couple of us, both myself and Ms. Carlisle. And then one thing that has changed in statute is just the requirement for a requester to provide an address. That was not in the 2015 policy. So that was an add. So really very, very basic, just those 3 minor adds to the policy. Board approves it, it would go on the website this evening.
Thank you. I'll make a motion the board approve the FOIA policy as presented.
I'll support.
Supported by Otto. Any questions, comments on the motion? Mr. Olney.
Is the address a legal requirement or just our requirement?
It is in statute, so it's a legal requirement. And then, we talked about this with the township attorney. That's not going to mean we just say we're going to turn away a request because, oh, you didn't put the address. We're going to ask for the request. So in the policy, it just says your request may get delayed beyond the 5 days if you don't provide that required information. So for us, it's not a hard no, it's an ask and solicit the information while we're processing.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0. Announcements, terms ending on the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Land Preservation Committee. We are now accepting applications for. Anyone interested, please apply.
I have a question on that. Could
Yes.
we currently have an opening on the ZBA. It's been open for quite some time. Could we receive any applicants that have submitted information for that? I know there is at least one community member who submitted an application that we've never seen. I know the planning commission appointments have to be done by the manager, or I'm sorry, by the supervisor, but the other zoning board of appeals, lands preservation committee, those recommendations can be made by any board member. So if we could see the applicants, I think that would help us make a decision.
So the answer is the last motion of the board was to see more applications and put it off. That was the last we visited the ZBA appointment issue.
So we have received an application and no one on the board has seen it, correct?
Right?
So
I don't know if anyone's seen it or not. So far, no.
you have seen it, right?
I have seen it.
So if you are privy to information, I think the entire board should be.
The motion was to wait for further applications to come in, and none came in. So that's where it was left.
Okay.
So the difference being is that we are now accepting applications, so anyone can put in an application. We're in the process of filling. That one will be considered. If you'd like to see it, I can send it to you.
My request is that it's shared with the entire board, not individuals. So,
Understood your request. Anyone else? Okay. Election day is November 4th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. No board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 11th due to Veterans Day. Petitions, communications, anyone wishing to address the Board of Trustees may do so. None? Board member comments, clarification, Mr. Olney.
I just thank Mrs. Otto and everyone that works with her for the investments that we received kind of some praise for today. I know in the past, some of our money just kind of sat in an account and waited for us to spend it. So the fact that you're investing our money, making money on our money, I'm sure the entire community appreciates. I know Mr. McDonough recently went to a SEMCOG conference meeting. I'm not sure. I was hoping for an update for that, if anything that took place there. I know there was, like, is it beneficial to us or not? Maybe the first meeting isn't really a true indicator of whether we have a benefit from it or not. And then tonight with 75 Barker, I have a responsibility as a board member with interest to the township's finances. We are looking like we're going to go down the road of litigation and possibly the expiration date coming on this. And if we have to make the current property owner right on this, not only paying back the purchase price, but the investments that they have into it up until this point, I think we're going to be using a lot of taxpayers' money when there might be a more fiscally responsible option to mitigate this and deal with it now, instead of taking it to court, letting the date expire, purchasing it back with costs, demoing it, making it a parking lot, and permanently removing it from the tax rolls. So my concern on this, and the reason I might seem upset or passionate about this, is being responsible with the taxpayers' money. So this isn't a personal issue. I know at times, myself and Mr. Roman, it might sound like we have issues with each other, and I want to make it clear that we don't. Or I don't, at least. I can't speak for you, but I don't think you have issue with me. I just think we have a differing of opinions on the issue, and at times it can get heated, and I think we just have a different view on it. And ideally, we don't get to that point in a meeting, but at times it does. So that's it.
Mr. Moko.
I didn't have much to say, but I'll say I'm 100% on the opposite side of the fence on that one. I'm not going to throw money at someone because they come in here asking when they've been in here a million times. I mean, that's craziness. I'll take our opinion from our lawyer before I go ask Siri for some environmental legalese, and that's it. I think it's crazy to Google something and think we got a legal opinion about from Eagle or whoever the heck it is. That's all I got.
Ms. Otto.
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Ms. Chick.
I do. I have a comment and a clarification. Under Robert's Rules of Orders, you can refuse to vote if you do not have sufficient information. In this instance, I absolutely am going to put the township first, and I'm not ready to obligate any funds to anything without knowing that we are actually obligated to pay for it. Just because somebody comes and wants us to do that, if we're not obligated to do it and we pay for it, then we set precedents for the next guy who comes in and says, well, you did it for that guy. So I need to know for sure that we're on the right side of this before I make any decisions. But yes, you may refuse, according to Robert's Rules of Orders, to vote. They did call it abstaining, though, so it is an abstention. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Donner.
I'd just like to thank Lieutenant Powell and Chief Smith for all the work they've done on the Salem contract. I think it says a lot about our department that they came to us with that, and also there will be no LPC meeting in November.
Chief Smith.
I have a couple things. First off, I want to acknowledge I guess it's a wrong that needs to be corrected, I believe, by the MHSAA. That's the Michigan High School Athletic Association. The Whitmore Lake Trojans football team this year was 7-2 and did not make the playoffs based off of points. I think that's a travesty for the Whitmore Lake School District. I think it's a travesty for the football team with the hard work they put in to not get that benefit of making the playoffs when there are teams under 500 in the playoffs. I just wanted to point that out. I just think it's wrong. Second, I want to thank Mr. McDonough, Mr. Roman, and Mr. Fink, or Attorney Fink, for all their hard work and efforts put into the Salem contract, because without the effort that was put in, it would not have come about the way it did. And I want to reiterate to the board that I am not making a decision that I feel is going to put my career in jeopardy. So I have no qualms about what we're about to do with Salem Township. I think it's going to be a benefit to both communities. And lastly, I want to extend my appreciation to the board for approving the command contract tonight. Thank you very much.
Chief Bishop. I make a motion to adjourn. Supported by Ms. Chick. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Have a good evening.